He moved there because he wanted silence, not peace or happiness, just silence. The kind where days passed without anyone knocking, calling, or asking questions. The house was small and old, sitting alone near a snow-covered road that disappeared every winter. It was a one-story house. No basement, no attic, just a flat roof and a narrow hallway leading to 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. He knew this house well. He had walked every corner of it many times. Snow stayed on the ground most of the year, and the nearest neighbor lived far enough that their lights never reached him at night. That distance made him feel safe. The storm arrived earlier than expected. Snow began falling in the afternoon and did not stop. By evening, the wind pushed it sideways, hard and fast. The sky lost all color and turned into one dull shade of white. When he drove into his driveway, the world felt empty, like everything beyond a few feet had been erased. His truck stopped near the porch, and the moment he stepped out, the cold hit him hard. He tried the front door, but the handle would not move. It was frozen solid. He pulled harder, breathed on it, hit it with his palm, but nothing worked. The cold burned his fingers, and frustration rose in his chest. He stood there longer than he should have, staring at the door, feeling tired and stupid for not having a backup plan. He went back to the truck and sat with the heater running. Snow climbed slowly up the tires. 5 minutes passed, then 10. The wind only grew louder, pressing against the truck so hard it shook. He watched the snow pile higher and realized waiting was a mistake. If the truck got buried, he would be trapped outside all night. There was another house down the road, far, but close enough if he walked fast. He locked the truck out of habit and stepped into the storm. By the time he reached the house, his legs felt weak and his hands were numb. The house looked wrong somehow, even before he reached the porch. It was one story, just like his. Low roof, old wood, no lights on outside. It felt too quiet, like the storm avoided it. He knocked once. Nothing happened. He knocked again, louder this time. Just as he turned to leave, the door opened suddenly, like it had been pulled open in one sharp motion. The man standing there did not look surprised. That was the first thing that made him uncomfortable. The man was average in every way. Middle-aged, plain face. Nothing about him stood out, and yet it was hard to focus on his features. He said his name quickly and stepped aside, letting him inside without asking many questions. The house was warm, too warm. The air felt heavy and old, like it had not moved in a long time. They sat in the living room, facing each other. The furniture was worn but clean. No television was on, no radio, just the sound of the storm hitting the walls. He explained about his truck and the frozen door. The man nodded while listening, but his eyes did not stay on him. They moved around the room, drifting toward the hallway, the ceiling, and the dark corner near the back. It felt like his attention was being pulled away by something else. When he asked if anyone else lived there, the man paused longer than expected. "No," he said. Then, after a moment, he added quietly, "Not anymore." Before he could ask what that meant, a dull sound came from above them. Not loud, just a heavy thump, like something shifting its weight. The man stopped moving and looked up at the ceiling. He stayed silent for a few seconds, then smiled weakly and said it was just an old house reacting to the storm. But the house was one story. He knew that. And once the thought settled in his mind, it refused to leave. After the sound from above, the room felt smaller. The warmth that had felt comforting earlier now felt wrong, like the air was pressing down on his chest. Neither of them spoke for a moment. The man kept staring at the ceiling, his head tilted slightly, as if listening. When he finally looked back down, his smile was gone. His face looked tired, not sad, just worn, like someone who had stopped being surprised by things a long time ago. Another sound came from above. This one was softer, slower, almost careful. It was not footsteps. It was more like something being dragged, stopping, then dragged again. His stomach tightened. He shifted on the couch and tried to laugh it off, saying storms made strange noises. The man nodded, but his eyes stayed fixed on the hallway now, not the ceiling. He said nothing. Minutes passed like that. The sounds continued, never loud, never clear enough to explain. Sometimes they stopped for long stretches, long enough that he started to think maybe it really was just the storm. And then, just as he relaxed, it would start again. Always above them, always moving. The man stood up suddenly, like he had made a decision. He told him it was late and suggested he get some rest. He pointed to the couch and said he could sleep there. The tone of his voice was calm but firm, like he did not expect an argument. He reached over and turned off the lamp without being asked. The room fell into darkness, broken only by faint light from the snow outside. But the man did not leave. He stood there near the hallway, not moving, not speaking. He could feel eyes on him, even though he could barely see. He lay still, pretending to settle in, his heart beating too fast. After what felt like a long time, the man finally walked down the hallway and disappeared into one of the rooms. The sound of a door closing followed. He did not sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, the sounds above seemed closer, more focused. He began to notice patterns. When he shifted on the couch, the sound paused. When he stayed still, it resumed. That scared him more than the noise itself. It felt like whatever was up there was listening too. Then the ceiling creaked. Not from wind, from pressure. A faint scratching followed. Slow, careful, like nails testing wood. He sat up, his breath shallow. The scratching stopped immediately. The silence that followed was worse. Heavy, waiting. He did not hear the man come back. One moment the hallway was empty. The next, the man was standing there again, close enough that he could smell something damp and metallic on him. The man spoke quietly, almost kindly, and told him not to move. He said she did not like sudden movements. He said storms made her restless. He said it was better if he stayed still, so she could hear him breathing. He tried to stand. The man lunged faster than he expected. Hands grabbed his shoulders and shoved him back down. The strength surprised him. The man's voice changed then. It shook, not with anger, but with urgency. He told him not to fight. He said she had been alone for too long. He said the cold made her scratch. He said she liked warmth. The ceiling groaned above them. Something pressed down hard enough to make dust fall. He panicked. He shoved the man away with everything he had. They stumbled, knocking into a chair. The man fell back, hitting the wall, and for a moment his face twisted into something ugly and desperate. He yelled that she would not like this. He yelled that he was making her angry. He ran. He did not stop to grab his coat. He did not look back. He burst through the front door and into the storm, the cold slamming into him like a wall. Snow filled his mouth and eyes, but he kept running, guided only by instinct and fear. Behind him, he heard the man shouting,
his words lost in the wind, except for one thing that carried clearly. "She's awake now." He ran until his lungs burned and his legs nearly gave out. Lights appeared ahead, blurry but real. He banged on the next door with frozen hands until it opened. The people inside pulled him in without asking questions. They wrapped him in blankets. Someone called the police. By morning, the storm had passed. The police went to the house. They found no one inside, no signs of a struggle, no damage to the ceiling. They told him the house had always been one story. No records of an attic, no reports of anyone living there recently. The neighbors said a man had lived there once, years ago, but no one had seen him in a long time. When he returned later to get his truck, the house stood quiet and empty. As he drove away, he looked at the roof one last time. For a brief moment, he thought he saw something shift beneath the snow, like the roof was breathing. He never went back. But sometimes, during heavy storms, when the wind hits his own ceiling just right, he lies awake listening, counting the sounds, and wondering if she followed him, or if she is still up there, waiting for the next knock on the door. The end.